Hello, Red Berets, Medicare for All. I have some very exciting updates, and I wanted to say that I did interview Sarah Hansen earlier today. And so I thought that we recorded that on Zoom. But I've been looking around on my Zoom account and don't see it, which is really sad because it was such a good 30 minutes together. So my first direct ask is to uh, the folks of Roar Media. So I've reached out directly to Amber King. I know Savage Joy hosts her show on Roar Media, so that would be another avenue. Is if Savage Joy, who I could reach out to as well to ask her. But I think what will be ideal is if Amber King or a couple of the people that are also involved on Roar Media, if they can give me some help showing me how to do the details of interviewing people and scheduling and uploading these things. It can't be that difficult, but I'm at the point where I need to ask for the help because I'm not very I'm not very great at technology, and it's already taken me to get here on YouTube was a little bit of a project in and of itself. So I'm happy that I'm here, proud of myself for getting here. And I don't really want to be stopped by technicalities that people can certainly show me how to do. And also, I think it would be quite apart from the fact that I'm going to just get things going here on the Red Berets YouTube, it takes quite some time to gain subscribers and a following. And I know that the Roar Media account has quite a lot of subscribers. So I'd like to be able to get this information out there. So that's my first request, is if everybody can please be in touch and ask them to please host a show where I can give some updates. And I would like to recapture those moments that I had with Sarah Hansen, because she put on her crocheted apple red beret. I'm really gutted. If hopefully I can get somebody to come over and look. Maybe it is recorded and I'm just not seeing how to access it, but I don't have it right now. So if it's not there, that's unfortunate. Sorry, Sarah. Yeah, it's really frustrating. But we'll get there and we'll get you back on. It was about 30 minutes, and I feel like it would be really easy for us to remember exactly what we talked about, and it'll be a new segment, and it'll have some of the same things and a new moment, a new opportunity. So we'll just call it a practice trial run if that in fact was not recorded or saved. But we need Roar Media, and we really need some help with independent media, and maybe so we can put a request out to Ron Placone or Justin Jackson or Jen Perlman. What we have, just to kind of, and not to leave anybody out, anybody who maybe has not yet had the opportunity to cover Red Berets, connecting the grassroots creative effort for Medicare for All, trying to connect up candidates, support for the federal legislation, 99%, and efforts that arise out of the 99%, like Force the Vote, and good, solid single payer efforts like Whole Washington and California with their bill, and the New York Health Act. And I'm going to keep naming those three, but I need to get better at naming some of the other ones, because we have, I saw North Carolina has a one payer state effort. Colorado, I don't know if they're going to go again with like a ballot initiative, but we have a lot of established one-payer states who are either doing efforts right now or who have done in the past. And so they have that whole network that all they need to do is kind of mobilize and decide when they're going to move on it. And so I never want to just make it seem like the Red Berets are only doing stuff for Whole Washington. Remember, I am a Washingtonian. There is a lot about Whole Washington, because this is how I was able to take a creative idea, and because of a nurse who introduced me to Whole Washington, this is why I affiliate myself so strongly with Whole Washington volunteers. Number one, because I'm on the board of Whole Washington, and number two, because they were the first local organization that I was able to craft my Red Berets for and put these into action, because that's always how I envisioned this creative idea is crafting for direct action towards achieving healthcare justice. So I want to put that out there as like we do want to spread the love and spread the word and try to get crafters mobilized into supporting other one-payer states and national efforts and candidates. I always envisioned it as a connective fiber or a connective tissue, something that people could kind of just really put their own buttons and their own make unique to your own organizing efforts. Make it your own. I had envisioned it as a creative canvas for connecting the Medicare for All healthcare justice movement. Okay, but let me back up to what I was wanting to say here. So I really I'm going to keep my DMs and keep going. And I haven't, I think Roar has been ready to welcome me and to support and schedule Red Berets anytime that I asked for it. And I just really haven't asked for it yet. I haven't said, hey, put me on the schedule. Number one, because I do want to I want to grow the Red Berets YouTube channel. That way I can go live whenever I want to. And it's kind of, just there. I wanted to challenge myself to seeing if I could even create a YouTube channel. And it's a place for me to kind of get on there and just, if I have an announcement or a call to action or a request that I can do, I can just do it at the drop of a hat. And, but I would like the help of some established independent media to help me get this word out. A lot of you have maybe seen me tweeting about an upcoming, in the works, in the early collaboration stages of a healthcare justice human story documentary, with the Red Berets being sort of the connective symbol, and it doesn't have, I am not the filmmaker. I was reached out to by Kenny Ballentine. Is it Ballentine or Ballentine? I forgot. Ballentine is how I'm saying it. Kenny Ballentine. And we'll go into some of the things that we covered in our second meeting today that we also welcomed Georgia Davenport into. But for just a moment, let me just say, for those of you who might be hearing this for the first time, because it is really new news, even though I've been tweeting about it for a few days at least, is that Kenny reached out to me through a direct message. Twitter is the best place to get a hold of me. After hearing my interview on Amped Up podcast with Ryan Knight, and he direct messaged and asked if anyone had yet done a documentary on Red Berets for Medicare for All, and I said not yet. And so he's said, I'm very interested in having a meeting and collaborating. So we had that first meeting, and then I have done videos talking about that. And so what I want everyone to know right now is that he's got a trip on the books. So he's going to be up in the end of March, the final weekend of March. More than probably it will be Tacoma as a central location. And I really like that. It's where Bernie came. That was kind of a multifaceted. There were reasons behind that, not to be like Bernie doesn't deserve it. There were things in Seattle that were booked. But anyway, I love that it's Tacoma because Tacoma was where we did the People's March for Medicare for All. And even though there wasn't a ton of people that turned out for that, because we were really growing, spreading the word of the Red Berets and organizing for Whole Washington I-1600, we chose Tacoma. We chose the Wright Park, Tacoma. And Tacoma is very, very diverse and very working class. And so I really like the idea of his first interview, his first kind of laying the groundwork of the initial interviews and stories being in working class Tacoma. And it will make it easier on him if the Red Berets of whole Washington will be able to kind of put that on loosely, mark that in your heads and put that on your calendar. And we'll be reaching out to try to include as many people that want to participate as possible. And so we're, going to be helping him research and look at venues. But that's all information that not everybody needs to have. Basically, we'll let you know where it is, but it's basically going to, it's pretty firm that it will be the final weekend in March. And so let's get this ball of yarn rolling. So, yeah, and I don't want to reveal everything about what we're looking at for the, some stuff has to stay a little bit of a surprise, right? And I would like, media to start, maybe reaching out to Kenny since he's the filmmaker and ask, what is his vision about this? And the more enthusiasm that we can bring around this, and just so everyone knows this, just because he's starting in Washington, he's coming to Tacoma where, I live and where the idea originated and where we did some of our very first Red Berets, local actions, which were for whole Washington on National Nurses Week. So more broadly, that event we did was for Medicare for all. We made it a both and strategy. So just, again, you will find if you look back at us historically, we have walked this walk. When we talk about always having come from a multi-pronged, multifaceted, strategic, inclusive approach. That's a mouthful. We have always, even back to like that earliest event that we organized, which was actually like as far as Red Berets kind of really coming forward to try to help co-organize in support of whole Washington. That was our second event. Our first event was just taking some Red Berets to go to a house fundraiser in Olympia. That was the first official event that I went to be introduced to whole Washington. I brought Red Berets and we took a group photo, and Sarah Hansen was in that photo, and Georgia Davenport, and Mariana Everson, and some really great whole Washington organizers who have been on this. So of course, we're going to reach out to Mariana Everson and Sarah Hansen, and we're going to put as many people on the list and try to just get as many people's voices. And Kenny has made it very clear that, he would love, we're going to give all of our video and all of our imagery, and as much as that's in our archives as we have, because he was saying it's a great thing to have such a wealth in the archive, and then also be able to add his own footage and interviews and everything that he's going to come up with in the living moment of creating this. So then he'll be able to pull from both. According to him, that's the best case scenario. So as those of you who know me on Twitter, you will be like, oh, yes, I think Laura's going to be, that's just the thing for Laura, because I have like between the whole Washington website and what I have stored in my phone, both for the local whole Washington effort and as well what myself and several other core creative people have put into trying to make this a national visual solidarity effort, in terms of, like Kenny was saying, one of the most powerful things that he has run across so far or seen so far was actually the Seattle Peace Choir and some whole Washington volunteers, but most of the people I've joined as well. I'm not in the Seattle Peace Choir, but I definitely wanted to sing the Red Berets song. That was very much a national movement thing. We were singing the song for Bernie and Nina Turner too, and for fighting for Red Berets. Red Berets for Medicare, Medicare for all. I love it. There's a musical score. Doug Balcom wrote a musical score, and he even did like a video tutorial, and then everybody recorded their things and sent them in, and then he synthesized all of it. And we made sure Georgia Davenport and myself, mostly Georgia Davenport, she mailed out red berets to everyone who had answered to the email saying they wanted to sing in this song. So just in that one piece alone, that was the song to the classic opera was rewritten. The lyrics were rewritten by Pete the Burner. Pete, I forget how to say Pete's last name, but he taught himself how to crochet when he saw me asking for help on Twitter. He creatively wrote that song, and one night I logged onto Twitter, and suddenly I'm tagged in him in his red beret singing this song that he'd written a cappella, and I was just like, I was in tears. I was literally in tears because somebody had just like seen my heart and what was in this idea, and had just sort of taken it upon himself, to answer my request and my call to join in the creativity. So he was the first step in that finalized project that ended up the Seattle Peace Choir in Hull, Washington, and all the berets that we sent, recording that video. And then so far as to like take that finished video and ask Jeff at Spitting Back to kind of create a more finalized video that incorporates some of the imagery from Hull, Washington about Canada passing it, beginning with Saskatchewan. So he kind of took and added to the video to orient it a little bit towards a one-payer state strategy, emulating what was achieved in Canada. So my point is that Kenny said that was one of the most, striking or powerful images so far. Even though it was all online, we were all in our little Zoom boxes, but because it was so many people, 20 some odd of us wearing red berets and singing. And of course, we have many photos out prior to COVID with the big hand-painted American flag, where we've written the countries that have achieved some form of universal health care or single payer and the year that they achieved it. Down in Olympia and here in Tacoma, and we took it down to Vancouver when Dr. Gerald Friedman came down to present on not only Hull, Washington and the study that he'd done for Hull Washington Health Trust, but also he did his presentation included the numbers for, he included the national presentation, so that, sorry, there's really so much to talk about. So again, my request is for media to help us get this word out that there's a documentary being made, and it's only beginning here in Tacoma, and where he's going to lay some of the groundwork on where did the idea of the Red Berets come from, and gathering some health care stories, some local healthcare stories. So Georgia Davenport, field director of Hull, Washington, joined the meeting today, and we put our heads together and we talked about a couple of stories, a particular story that we would really like to be central to this. And again, they haven't even been reached out to yet, so I'm not going to go into it except to say that we have the beginnings of laying the foundation, starting here in Tacoma, and this is the first step. So it'll be a really good grounding. And I want Washingtonians, of course, Hull, Washington has their database, but I would like to just kind of be able to put our word out through Washington Bernicrat Coalition, and because of course Washington Bernicrat Coalition very strongly supports and organizes for Hull, Washington, but they're also their own it's our State Our Revolution group. So they have their own email database, and of course their efforts are for state level and always towards the national effort. So that's the thing that we want to always make sure to keep, that there are several strands that are going to go along in this documentary. And it's something that where we want to include everybody. We want to include support for other one payer states along the way, and also the support growing, always growing the support for national improved Medicare for all. So we need help getting the idea about this out, because it's very, very exciting. And so this is my request, and hopefully I don't have to plead, but I am pleading. Please find this story interesting. I've been tweeting about it for a long time, and a documentary filmmaker who listened to Ryan Knight's and my interview on Amped Up Pod, he thinks it's interesting. He thinks it's a connective and creative way to tie us together. There's a lot of connective force out there, and we can talk about how this idea connected me up to Scott Desnoyers and Fran Bauer, and then they've got, there was a woman wearing a red beret on the New York Health Campaign live stream. I saw Scott on there. I was tagged in a Facebook thing. So the idea is spreading, and of course, we sent. I think we were able to send a few berets. Let me think about this. I don't know if I actually was able to send berets, or if I just recommended, like, oh my gosh, go on to Etsy or see what you can do. But the nurses and some of the core single payer organizers of Colorado had reached out to me at the very beginnings and said, "This is an amazing story. Can you write the story of the red berets and how you came up with the idea? And we'd love to wear red berets for our nurses march." And so we have the photos of those. They shared the photos, and they wanted to share the story on their website, which they did. So we certainly, as much as I've been very prolific and prominent about sharing whole Washington, I am a Washingtonian, and I have seen the work ethic and the the multi-pronged approach of whole Washington has made me a very, very vocal, strong supporter. I'm local. This is the best way that I can immediately have the strongest impact on creating healthcare justice and opening the floodgates for our country, is to be a strong proponent of whole Washington. However, something that, Kenny will be able to flesh out and discover is that myself and a few other core people in the Red Berets have also been simultaneously laying the groundwork and getting these berets out to people to try to raise the profile of it and get the idea out there. I've been trying to get the idea out there. And so, Ron Placone invited Georgia on his show, and in solidarity, as he was interviewing her on whole Washington, he had on his red beret that we had mailed. So we mailed red berets to, we gave them first to Fiorella and Pasta of the Convo Couch, and they were able to get berets to on their show when they invited Graham Elwood and Ron Placone. They opened up the red berets on the Convo Couch and put them on, and I have photos of that. So I've been trying to, over the years, create and send red berets to, regular people who were interested in the idea, and to people like Senator Nina Turner, who's been hugely supportive and helped retweet and put the red beret on, and the same thing with Dr. Victoria Dooley and, Scott, and then Susan Sarandon bought a red beret recently. So, I've mailed a beret to Roseanne DeMoro. I could probably do a whole episode on every everybody that and I've mailed berets to Savage Joy. So this whole thing was me trying in a grassrootsy way to foment enough to create some imagery and hopefully to reach enough crafters out there, even though Twitter, if I wanted to do it this way, Twitter isn't really the best place to do it. I could have been spending hours on Ravelry, putting it out there, which is a crafting website for those of you who don't know, Ravelry.com, and also on Instagram, which is much more known for imagery and is probably a better, I don't know, in some ways better demographic. I wanted to, I still think in retrospect, Twitter will probably be the best usage of my time. I'm depending on other crafters who can go put this message out and start putting their work out there and put their stuff on Ravelry.com and put it on Instagram and put it on whatever all the different platforms are. I like to be on Twitter because I believe in trying to shape the public discourse, and it's where I perceive that we can have the most profound impact on pressure. And I'm very political about these. Some crafters will come in and choose to be a little bit less political about them. They're just going to be like, healthcare is a human right. Or I want to knit for healthcare. We need it. So I'm going to create some beautiful red berets, and boom, that's it. They don't need to get into the weeds of the political aspect of things. I choose to myself, and many crafters will hopefully hear about this and join us and just get about crafting and put them out and take them out into your community and just start getting them out there. So Twitter is where I choose to be, and I certainly invite everybody who is for achieving national improved Medicare for all to go and start getting the word out there and start doing it. And then if you want to share it with me, then you can find me on Twitter. You can comment here on YouTube. You can go to redberetsmedicareforall.com, all spelled out. We do have a website. It hasn't been updated in quite some time. But there is a lot of neat imagery and some cool resources on there. So if you see this, Kenny, that's something that I still haven't mentioned yet is, you might want to check on the Red Berets website. We do have one. And that's redberetsmedicareforall.com. So and that of course has my contact information. You can reach out that way via email or text me or whatever. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I don't have any longer to spend on this today. I feel really sad that the time with Sarah doesn't seem to have been saved. I could be wrong, but it's also not the end of the world. We'll get it back on there and we'll get it on the record this time. Please share the video. Please at Ron Placone, Graham Aylwood, Justin Jackson, Brianna Joy Gray, Ryan Knight has already recently helped us out. But of course, it would be really cool if he could look to inviting Kenny Ballentine onto his podcast, Amped Up. Because that's where Kenny heard about us. And now we very soon are going to have some really, really exciting stuff to share. Maybe that is best for after the Washington trip when there's, more to share about it. I don't know. But, that's going to be coming up really, really soon. But some immediate media to help let people know this is happening. And it's not only going to be in Washington state, there will be more that will develop out of this. And the more that we kind of raise awareness and get a great foundation with the starting interviews here in Washington, the sky is really the limit. We need to really start thinking very, very big, very creatively, very collaboratively, lots and lots of solidarity. Because as Georgia was kind of letting Kenny know that maybe, I don't even know that Kenny kind of had an awareness. I think a lot of people maybe don't have awareness of this, is exactly how territorial that a lot of single payer organizations get. And they go, I don't want to be associated with this org, or, this is the way that we're doing things. We really have to begin to push everybody to show much, much, much more solidarity. and just constantly lifting up. If there's a way that you can lift up this organization instead of saying that's their organization and they're doing this and we're over here doing, you know, we have to start adopting and implementing and living this idea that actually it doesn't take anything away from me to also lift up this independent media or lift up this organization or you know, I sometimes feel that progressives think that you know, if we trumpet this cause too loud, then that takes something away from me or from him or from. I really don't think we can continue to think that way. I think the more that we amplify each other, um, especially the people that are really doing so much work towards this, we're not just going to let Medicare for all lie in the dustbin because Joe Biden says he'll veto it. That's actually why we're mobilizing even harder. Um, so I'm really excited about this. And I'm sitting at just over 30 minutes. Let's make it like almost a record. And I'm going to sign off. Please do what you can, like and subscribe, reach out and at people and try to get us some media to cover the fact that a documentary is being made. Let's move into action on Medicare for all. I have the whole time that Trump was in office, it wasn't it doesn't matter that we didn't have a chance of Medicare for all with him. I said it's the same exact thing with Joe Biden. He is anti-Medicare for all. This does not have any impact on what we demand and how we continue to grow our coalitions and continue building solidarity and pressure and do direct action. Because we don't just wait around to see if maybe some kind of magical force happens and suddenly he's amenable to Medicare for all. Oh my gosh. Or, you know, maybe in 4 years or this and that. We absolutely have to uh, build and like invite this wave to happen right now. That's what we can do. So please get our media to cover this. I'm asking you all directly. Please help us. Kenny Ballentine, please get him on the show. Thank you.